good. Yep.
Welcome to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams, Calvin Wetzel, and we start off the day with Coach Jonas Chatterton from San Jose State. Coach, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
How's the practice and season going so far?
So far, so good. Everything's been fun. It's, obviously changing culture and changing a program and trying to move it in the right direction. And so it's been good and the kids have really bought into where we're going. And so all of that's been good so far. And then, knock on wood, for the most part, we've stayed fairly healthy.
There you go.
Yes,
exactly.
That's the whole
important thing.
Right.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, well, obviously you worked with Scott at Oregon State, and we just talked to him. You worked with Jenny at Oklahoma. Are there some things that you learned from them or picked up that you want to take into your head coaching career?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had great mentors along the way, starting with Jeff Judkins when I was at BYU for 9 years, and then obviously working with Scott and Jenny, who are great in everything they do. And so I've pulled bits and pieces from all of them in different ways, and because I have to be my own person, but things that I've learned from them, and then we integrate into what we're doing day in and day out as we go.
What was the first set of things that you absolutely had to get done when you first took over? That's always the figure those priorities out.
Those first few weeks to months, right, is vital. And so the biggest thing is we had to change the culture, and we're still working on changing the perception. But that has to change. For whatever reason, San Jose State hasn't been a successful program over the years, and so we had to change that. Part of that is the people, right? And so a bunch of people left with the change and everything else, but the people that stayed bought into what we're doing, and then recruiting the right people in that locker room, and then hiring staff. I mean, that might be the most important decision I think you make is when you take a job like this. And so hiring a fantastic staff that are people that just love on the kids and have changed the culture in that way, in every way. And so creating a healthy environment for them to really thrive and grow.
What do you want in terms of kind of on the court strengths and style of play, your identity to be of your team? And are there any aspects of that you kind of pulled from those previous stops?
Yeah. So, Jenny Bronchek and I have been great friends. I mean, she's almost like a sister to me for years. And so watching her, I think she's as good offensively as anyone in the country. And so we're going to play fast. So last year at Oklahoma, we led the country in pace and we led the country in assists. And so we're going to bring that to San Jose State. So we want to get up and down as many times as we can go. And, our goal, if we can do it, is to score 80 a night. But it's based on ball movement, player movement, more than it is off the dribble.
So you want to change the standards in terms of performance. So What does that mean in general? And what does that mean specifically?
Well, I think the biggest part is the consistency piece of that, right? And holding and making sure that there's a standard that everyone understands and knows. I think you have to lay that out. The vision, it has to be clear to them. They have to know the why of what we're doing. And then, my job is obviously to hold everyone to a high standard day in and day out. And it's not always perfect. And there's days that we're not going to be great. But, the whole thing is how you respond to those things. When things don't go well, how are we going to respond? Are we going to put our head down and go, is it going to go worse? Or are we going to respond and be like, okay, that wasn't our best, but tomorrow's going to be great. And so all of those things of holding a standard in that sort of direction. And then obviously at the end of the day, just a standard of being great people, right? Don't be late for meetings. Take care of your academic stuff. Do all the things that as a good person that you would do and expect from someone else.
You're coming into a league with so many great coaches and great teams. What are you the most looking forward to about coaching in the Mountain West?
Well, I think the Mountain West is a fantastic league. I coached in it for 9 years when I was at BYU. So coming back to it is really great. And like you said, there's some fantastic coaches and programs in this league. And so, my hope and what I want to do is we want to be one of those standard programs as well. So, you got to come in and obviously within that, like we talked about, having the right people in place, but then we've got to continue to grow and get better and better. But excited about the opportunity to compete at the high level against the other programs in the conference.
What are your non-negotiables in terms of how you are going to be able to compete against tough programs in the country?
Yeah, that's a good question. The non-negotiables would be we can't worry about everything else around us, right? You can't control what everyone else is doing. And we talk a lot about this as a team. We can only control what we can control. And so we've just got to focus on getting better ourselves day in and day out. The results will take care of themselves. don't even worry about that. That's laid out if we do what we're supposed to do over and over again. And, kind of what I've come in, and talked to the team about is obviously we have to love each other at a high level, which is not always easy, right? Love doesn't always come with this lovey-dovey. It's some hard conversations and real conversations. But the other is that we have to be persistent over resistant. So we've just got to continue to grind away every day and get better and better and not worry about the resistance of everyone else telling you can't do this or the self-doubt you've got in our own selves. You just continue to work and get better and better so that you build your own confidence in yourself.
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to write that down. Persistent over resistant.
That's great. Obviously with the kind of landscape of college basketball, taking over a new program might look different today than it did 10 or 20 years ago. Like, how do you approach rebuilding versus coming in and trying to win right now with the transfer portal and everything like that?
Right. Well, and with rev share and all the things that go into play with this, right? And so, that was part of me taking the San Jose State job. Obviously, I've been at some great programs. Could have stayed at Oklahoma, and that school's on a trajectory to be in a great place itself. But San Jose State wants to invest in women's basketball. They've given us the resources to be successful in the conference. And so, now it's, taking that and building, in recruiting, getting the right people. I think you have to use the transfer portal. I think it's something that you can't shy away from. And I think it goes both ways, right? If we can take somebody and develop them and they're an all-conference player, and you're going to lose some of those kids to a higher league sometimes. And instead of putting my head in the sand and being like, that's not going to happen, like, that's what you should happen, right? I mean, that's my job, is to help them develop and have a great experience along the way. And then, taking players from other programs that you can help rebuild and restructure their games that maybe they weren't having it somewhere else. But along the way, I think you still have to recruit high school kids to really build a program. I don't want to be a transactional school, like you'd like to have a transfer or two every year. But I don't want to build every year we got a new team to rebuild. You would like to build with high school kids and continue to grow that way.
Aside from the investment in women's basketball, why did you feel San Jose was the place for you?
Well, I've watched the program for years from the outside and kind of knew the school. I'd been to the school. And then I had a really good friend named Brent Brennan, who was the football coach there. And so when he was at Oregon State, he went and took the job there, and the football program was down, and he flipped that thing and got it going, and they'd made some bowl games and everything. And now he's the head coach at University of Arizona. So I called him and I was like, hey, what does this look like? And how can you make it successful? And he had some great advice for me throughout it. And then, there's really good things that you can sell that I don't think were being utilized at San Jose State. We're in the heart of Silicon Valley. We have a great program called Beyond Sparta, where we're connecting kids into internships to prepare them for life after basketball. And so all those little aspects that you can attach yourself to and like build a program with it, and recruiting and selling it to kids, I think is what you look at. And then obviously the investment in where we're going to go and like how the administration sees women's basketball going.
One of the things obviously you have to do when you take a head coaching job is build your staff. What can you tell us about the staff that you've built?
Yeah, and that's, like we talked about, that's the biggest decision you make when you take a head coaching job. And so the first and foremost, they have to be great people, like, and really care for each other and love each other. You're with each other so much that you can't have where it's negative and everything else. You got to be able to have hard conversations and work together. And so I really feel like within that, I was able to attract really great people. And some of them I had all of them I had previous relationships with. I think that's part of the thing of coaching and being an assistant or associate. As long as I was, you get to know everybody and how it kind of looks and how it kind of functions. And so I had a rough idea of who I wanted, how it would look, and then, getting those people there. And I think that's been maybe my biggest win in the whole process, is getting the right staff, the right people in place. Like we talked about, people that really care about the kids more than anything else. And then obviously talented people who are going to help me in ways that, I need help in, and coming up with things that I'm not. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, and I'm not most of the times with those guys. And so I'm really happy with our staff and where we're going.
I think that's a smart approach. I want to go back to, and it's the first coach I've heard say this, and I've often thought it about developing players and them going on to a higher level. How did you come to that conclusion that was something that you were okay with?
Well, I think it's the experience of being on the other side, right? So when you're at a place like University of Oklahoma, that's what you're doing. You're taking kids and bringing them to another level, right? And I like Reagan Beers went from Oregon State to Oklahoma with me, and so so instead of putting your head down and saying like, what happens though is if you create a great experience for those people, and it's not always an easy decision for them to go, but let's be honest with ourselves. I mean, I have kids of my own. That's life-changing money for a lot of people. Some of the money that's at that level. And if you can go do that, by all means, as long as you put yourself in the right situation to be successful along the way. And so that's what I should be doing, is developing these kids. My job is to help them get as far as they can go in life. And so understanding that and hoping the best for them in every way. But in the meantime, they're going to have a fantastic experience. And so then now the way the world works in recruiting and everything, players and kids are talking all the time. They're like, hey, that was the best experience I had there. And so then you're continuing to grow that way. And so, I think that's the landscape we're in. I mean, I don't want to be naive to that. And so I think you've just got to embrace it in a way. And, in some of the recruiting conversations I've had with some players, is like, listen, I've been on that side. You can go sit at that school and you may not play minutes at a high level. Here, you can come and you're going to get as many minutes as you want and get a chance to really hone your craft and get better. And then you'll be in an opportunity where now you're ready to play at that next level. And so, seeing both sides of the scale, I think you just got to have those honest conversations.
Yeah, I'll get you out of here on this one, Coach. There's one more for you. Fast forward to April, when you're looking back on the season, what will have to happen for you to look back and say, I had a successful year one at Stanford?
For us to be successful, we have to reach our potential as a group. And, we've got to figure that out. And I'm still navigating through that. You got to figure out where do we look at with the league, and how is our style of play going to fit into the league? What is it going to look like? But at the end of the day, we have to have a locker room and a team that really loves each other. And if we can do that, and we can really fight through and overcome adversity and get through, the things that aren't going to go right and make things better, then we'll be successful. And so, I have no idea what the number of wins or losses is going to look like. But I do know as a group, we can get better every day and worry about what we can control all the time. And so that's what we've got to look back and do. And so continuing to do that and build this program into something that, long term, this isn't like a quick fix thing. This is, can we continue to get better and better and better so that we're competing at the highest level of the conference, down the road.
Awesome. I wish you well, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck,
Appreciate
Coach.
it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, welcome back to the Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams. This is Calvin Wetzel, and we are here with San Diego State coach Stacy Terry-Hutson. Welcome. How's your day been so far?
It's been great. It's been a good day. Enjoying time with the kids and, just talking about Mountain West hoops and San Diego State.
There you go. That's fun. What are your expectations this year?
TBD. Okay. And I say that, we're working really hard. I'm trying to get better every single day, but we won the Mountain West Championship last year, so the standard is high. So we're trying to just keep living up to that standard day in and day out and talking about, laying bricks every day to build the foundation. So just trying to get better every time we get together. Excited to play somebody else. We've been playing our scout team and each other for a while. Yeah. So looking forward to our first games and seeing where we are.
So you can yell at the refs instead of them. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love it.
I'm glad you brought up the championship because I have to ask about that 3 overtime game. And I live in Central Time, but I'm a night owl, so I was staying up watching that game. It was so exciting. And for you guys to come out of that game and then play LSU and get tournament experience, what does that mean for momentum in this year's team?
Well, first off, what an exciting basketball game for the women's basketball community. It was nationally televised. I thought it was great basketball and a great representation of the Mountain West Conference. But it was just the kickoff point. We have some very young kids that are back that were able to experience the NCAA tournament berth and going to LSU in that environment. And I think it's just really kept us hungry in the off season and in the summer to continue to get better. I mean, now it's like that's the goal now. We got to get there or bust. So it's been a motivating factor pushing us forward, and it's just really grateful for the experience. And LSU is my old stomping ground. So I was an assistant coach there prior to coming to San Diego State. So it was fun to go back and see a lot of friends and family.
That's awesome. 70 wins over the last 3 years. So you're always now the hunted. So what is it? What are the keys to making sure you're continuing to lay those bricks and stay successful?
We just had this conversation this week is we need to keep that same mentality as the underdog. And I think that was a big reason why we were successful last year is, because we're getting a little bit more respect and a little more notoriety doesn't change how we prepare every day and making sure that we understand that we're still trying to be the best version of ourselves every single day. And that's really, if we can keep that mentality every single day in practice and trying to win the day, I think we'll be okay.
You look at last year's team, you had 9 different players start at least 3 games.
Yeah.
And Veronica Sheffy, one player who played 26 minutes a game, is gone. So how important is depth and team basketball and that kind of idea? It could be anyone's night, any given night.
Well, I think that was our superpower last year was our depth. And I preached that. Last year we had the we over me mentality because I had so many young ladies that could start and still played significant minutes for us last year. And we were able to keep that togetherness throughout the season. And we've lost a lot to graduation and to the transfer portal, but we've added a lot. So we have a core group coming back, and we have some excellent transfers that have come in and some freshmen to help fill some gaps too. So we're still very deep. We're just very, very young. So I think this year is going to be dependent on how quickly we can gel and kind of play through some of those mistakes. And I think we're very talented, but we're very young. But we got a chance to be really good if we can figure this thing out early.
So 7 newcomers. I want to talk specifically about Milahnie Williams.
Yeah.
Listen to Play of the Year. What about her made you feel like she could continue to help you compete against those Power 4 schools you're going to be playing this year?
She's a fantastic player. I mean, we saw that in film. Her talent jumps off the page, and watching her play, it was just a no-brainer. She's such a fantastic human being, and it shows in her game. Nala has been a huge addition to what we're trying to do, and is going to step in and see significant minutes right away and is expected to contribute in a big way this year. I can't talk enough about the human being that she is. Sometimes you just run across kids and you're like, I want my daughter to be like her. Yeah. And I've had a few of those in my coaching career. And Nala is just an exceptional human being, and we're just really lucky to have her on our team. And she knows how to win. It doesn't matter what division it is. I mean, she knows how to win.
Yeah, ball's the same.
Right.
Court's the same. Win is winning.
Absolutely. And not only is she a great offensive addition, she's also one of the best defenders we have on our team. So she's affecting winning on both sides of the ball. And I'm really excited to show her off to the Mountain West.
Well, I got to ask you about another one of your kids, too, Naomi, who was on the Philippine national team, youngest player on the team, led the team in scoring. What does that kind of experience do for her?
Just more experience, international basketball, playing on that level has just helped grow her game, and I think the best basketballs ahead of her. She was a huge player on our team last year as far as impactful offensively, and she's really stepped up her shooting, and she's defending at a high level. I think she's going to be asked to do a lot more next year. She was a little bit of a surprise last year being a freshman, but there's no secrets now, and the secret's out of the bag, and she's going to be one that's going to have to handle some of the better defenders night in and night out. So she's working on that now, and I think she'll step up to the challenge.
So you've got UCLA, Kansas State, possibly Princeton, possibly Penn State. Are those normal games for you now since you got to the tournament and you had that experience?
I don't know if it's normal, but I do think they're necessary. You know, our goal is to obviously compete well into March. And if you have that goal, you need to play it against the best. UCLA is going to be a great challenge right out of the gate. And that's who we would potentially be playing in the first round. So we want them to have that experience. And no matter the end game or the score, they're going to have that experience and be ready to step into the next one come March. So I think, you know, you want to continue to grow. You got to beat the best, play the best. And I think our non-conference schedule is really going to challenge us and prepare us for Mountain West.
When it comes to on-the-court strength, style of play, things of that nature, are there ways that you see this year's team being similar or different to last year's team?
It's a great question, and we've been working really hard on playing with great space and pace. And a lot of coaches say they want to play that way, but we're really living it every day in practice. So we're playing much faster, sharing the ball. You know, we had a scrimmage the other day, and I was really pleased with how we shot the ball, having more threats outside the three-point line. We shot a high percentage last year, but only averaged right about 5 or 6 threes a game. And for us, we want to play where we're making quite a few more than that. So it started off well in the scrimmage, and we had 20 assists. So we're sharing the ball and playing fast. And I think we're going to do some things differently defensively, which will allow us to be able to press a little bit, play a little faster, because like you said, we have some depth.
I've asked a lot of coaches this, but how have you grown through all the changes in the athletic landscape that's helped you see your face there? That's, you know, sort of help you to continue these winning seasons that you have?
Well, you know, a big piece of it is fundraising now.
Yeah.
You know, so that takes up a lot of my day, the hours in my day now, just knowing that to be competitive, you have to have the financial backing to be able to compete in the transfer portal and in, you know, when recruiting for high school seniors. So that's been a big piece of what we do, but also the game is changing and the skill level is changing. So we've had to keep up with the Joneses as far as making sure we're giving our kids the best opportunity to be successful and making sure that the individual skill work that we're doing and how we're playing is not only effective, but fun for them. We want them still to not lose that piece. I got into this business to be transformational, and it's now turning transactional. So I'm trying to hold on to that transformational piece as long as I can. So that's kind of what fuels our coaching staff. And I have a great staff that does a great job with our young women. So we're not all the way over on the other side. We want to hold on to that side to make it impactful and still allow them to be a kid and have fun. And I think that's been a separating factor for us at San Diego State. And we're going to hold on to that as long as we can.
You just led me into my next question was with all the fundraising and stuff, you have to have a capable staff. Talk about them a little bit more.
I have a great staff, and they've been with me for a while now. Quite a few of them have head coaching experience, so I can step away from practice and maybe go take care of something off the court that's just as important, with the understanding that our kids at home are going to be taken care of. So it's really nice to have a staff around you that understands what you want to do, understands how we can best serve these student athletes. And we're all of a servant mentality. That's the type of leadership that we have, is making sure we're doing the best for these young women.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'm really looking forward to watching your team play this year. So good luck.
Thank you so much. It should be fun.
Thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate you.
Of course.
Going out of order, B-Mac. Ready, Colin? Welcome back to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Calvin Wetzel, and we're sitting here with New Mexico coach Mike Bradbury. Coach, thank you for making some time for us after playing last night and flying in this morning, flying home tonight. How's it been so far?
It's been great, and I appreciate you having me.
Talk about, since you played last night, talk about what you learned about your team.
Yeah, I thought we came out, played really hard. We were competitive defensively. We were pretty good. Our team's a lot different this year than it has been. We're bigger. We're more athletic. Defensively, I think we'll be significantly better.
Well, last year you played one power conference team. This year it seems like you play all sorts of them. I'm looking at your schedule. It looks like the Big 12 schedule, basically. Like, can you talk about the schedule you put together and how that's going to help your team?
Yeah, we like our team, and we're going to challenge ourselves. And, our league is very competitive, and it's really good. So we want to prepare ourselves before getting into it. We want to be able to get an at-large bid into the BIT or the NCAA tournament, and we felt like this was the only way. I understand that, we can suffer losses along the way against these teams, but, when you go back and you look at the at-large teams and the schedule they had to play, okay, there were 3 non-A4 teams that got an at-large bid, and they all played this schedule. So that's why we put this schedule. Now, how will we do? I don't know. But, if we do well, then we put ourselves in that conversation.
How will you prepare your players for this kind of schedule? Because it is ambitious. And obviously you wouldn't do it if you didn't think you could compete. But
right. We're working hard in practice. We have a really good practice squad. We challenge ourselves. I think this team can go 10 or 11 deep. So even playing against ourselves, I think is a good challenge. And we're just trying to get our mindset ready. That we have to be able to play through some adversity and through some tough times because we know we're going to face them against those teams. And we just have to keep doing what we're supposed to do regardless of what else is happening.
What are those non-negotiables when you say do what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, we got to compete. We got to finish every play, and we can't back down from anything. So regardless of what that is, now with our roster, I don't think even those teams will be bigger and more athletic. So we do have the size and athleticism to match up that way. Now we'll see, about the sheer talent level, because that could be different. But I don't think there's anybody that we would be scared of, from a physical stature.
You get a lot of offense last year from Cumber and Hooks, 2 double-digit scores. Who's Cumber? How much offense? How much is on Destinee Hooks' shoulders, and who else kind of steps up and fills the production?
Yeah, I think last year we were so dependent on those two to score offensively. We were offensively challenged last year. This year we're much better. We return our top 6 players, our top 6 core players, and that's hard to do in this day and age. So it starts with that. They're all a year older, a year more experienced. Destinee Hooks is twice as good as she was last year. She's in much better shape. Her skill level has went way up. She was with us all summer this year where she missed it last summer. Alyssa Hargrove, her offensive game will step up a lot. She kind of just played off of those other 2. Then probably our best player that didn't play last year was Clarissa Craig, and she sat out due to injury. Then we added Cassia Antonio, who's the National Junior College Player of the Year, and that was a huge get. And the people that we recruited against in that were the highest level. So we have some impact players. I don't think we'll be as reliant on 1 or 2 kids this year. It'll be much more balanced.
So with the players that you had, this is a tough conference. I'm sure you kept that in mind as you were looking at transfers and stuff. What do you think is going to be the biggest key to being successful in the conference? Yeah,
we've got to stay even kill. We can't get too high and too low. Last year we started out 5-1, had huge wins at San Diego State, at Colorado State, had beaten Wyoming at home. Well, then we flip around and we go like 1-5. And then we went 5-1 to close it out on the back. Okay, we've got to be a little steadier than that. It can't be all or nothing in the 3 different segments. We got to stay a little more even keel and not get too high, too low. when things are good or bad, because it goes both ways.
Well, you're basically decade there. The last 2 seasons have been easily the best 2 defensive rebounding rates that you've had. How much of an emphasis have you put on boxing out, finishing possessions with rebounds?
Yeah, and we've done it more with mentality than technique, if that makes, and we're going to go pursue the ball. We're going to pursue it. Anytime that ball's in the air, then that has to be our ball, and that's we've done it more with mentality.
Yeah, you either want the ball or you don't, right?
That's right.
You have Keith Freeman on your staff.
Yep.
Over 400 wins as a head coach himself. So that says a lot about you that you would have a head coach on your staff. And talk about the value of that type of person on your staff.
Yeah, Keith's tremendous. I mean, there's not a better basketball coach in America than Keith Freeman. Offensively, defensively, he is outstanding, and stays very level-headed. Has a lot of experience. I lean heavily on Keith in every decision that we make.
Says a lot about you as a head coach, too.
Well, thank you. We don't look at it as titles as much like at my place. Look, we've got 5 coaches. We're all in this together, and if we win, we're all going to have success, and if we lose, we're all looking for a job. So, it's about us.
Well, thank you, Coach. Wish you well this year. Looking forward to watching your team.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for what you guys do.
Right.
Thank you. Yep.
Welcome back to the Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams. This is Calvin Wetzel, and we are here with Coach Heather Rozelle from Wyoming. Coach, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How's it been? They've been running you around since you've been here. What's it been like?
I mean, yeah, running around, smiling a lot and answering questions, but we're excited to be here, and that means that the season's about to start.
Yeah, for sure. What are your expectations going into this season?
The big thing for us is obviously lost a lot of seniors, but I've got a lot of new faces. But for me, that's exciting because I get back to the coaching piece, the teaching piece for our team. And that's the fun part. I love the teaching part of the game, and it's been fun these last 4 weeks of practice, getting back to those basics.
You have to squeeze that in now because you have new players. You don't have players that carry over. So what is that like?
It just makes every practice you got to really, be worth it. We can't, mess around and, not have good ones. We say we just got to get a little better each day. And I think they've taken that approach and we've made each day worth it. And we'll really find out. We have our first exhibition game tomorrow, so we'll find out.
Wow. Exciting.
Yeah.
You hit on losing some of those players, and obviously Allison Furden, the big one. Where does some of that production come from this year? And does losing a post presence like that kind of change the way that you're going to play them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously losing somebody like that was the focal point of our offense. But the piece of that makes me excited is we do get back to some of the motion pieces that maybe we weren't as about last year, because we were so focused on getting the ball to Al and working through the post. And now it's allowed us to get back to some of that motion that we may have lost before. And now we've got some new pieces, obviously returning Melina, a huge piece of our offense last year, and returning. We've got a couple transfers. And now we can spread it around and do some different things within our motion.
None of your freshmen are under 6 feet that you recruited. Was that by design?
A little bit, and then at the same time, it just worked out that way. Got a lot of length. There's a chance that we could, at some point in a game, have 4 of the 5 players over 6 foot on the court, and that's exciting as a coach when you got that much length. And I just hope we can defend with that much length on the court, be able to move our feet, because that's something we always will hang our hat on, is the defensive end.
When you get that close to a championship, 3 overtimes, to what extent do you kind of just flush that this season, and to what extent does that kind of serve as a motivating factor for you or your players?
It's a little bit of both. Obviously, a couple players that were part of that game, a lot of players that sat on the bench and watched it. And I told every one of them that, might not have got in the game, though, not to forget about it, because that's something you have to keep it and remember, and want to be back in that championship game. But at the same time, they have to understand how much work went into that. And what I really preach to our young players, and going to be sophomores here, is just because you were part of it, did you put in all that work? And that's really what it comes down to now. Is now you are the piece. You are the ones that are going to be out there playing, and you got to remember how much those seniors were putting in behind closed doors, and because now that falls on your shoulders.
You have a lot of international players on your team. Was that by design as well?
It's just something we've always been able to, recruit to our system. It just translates so well to the international game. We found that just success with those players, and then word of mouth, they go home. They've had great experiences. They tell their friends, their coaches, whatever, and then we get more of them. I kind of joke, but for a European from, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, wherever it might be, Laramie, Wyoming to them is America. They don't really know the difference between Laramie or Atlanta or, Chicago, wherever it might be. So that plays for us a positive piece. And then we get them there, and our community treats them like family.
Your team has done some work the last few seasons with Sharp and Team Impact. What can you tell us about that?
That's just, why Wyoming's built on. That's kind of the Wyoming way, our cowgirl toughness. We, when somebody needs something, we're going to, pick up that. And Josie was a young lady that, needed some help, battling a brain tumor, and needed some positive impact in her life. And our team adopted her. She became a constant, present at practice, at games, and just another teammate to us. And now I've watched Josie grow in these past 4 years, and she's no longer that little girl I saw. She's now grown up into a young woman, and I give our players a lot of credit, because they've been that role model, and she's grown, and just her confidence and everything. And it's really fun to see, and that we can be able to be an impact like that to people. And once again, that's what Wyoming's about. When somebody needs something, they're going to step up and they're going to do it.
So you obviously, your goal is going to be to win championship, but what's going to define success outside of, wins and losses for your team?
I think that right there, just talking about Josie, the impacts that we make in people's lives, what we do on and off the basketball court that affects, just the success that we have, what comes next. Like I said, we have all these international players that go home, and they talk about how a great experience they had at Wyoming. We don't have a lot of transfers. There's a reason we had 6 seniors last year. We keep players. They stay. They want to be a part of it. They want to stay for 4 years, and that's what I'm proud of. We don't have people that want to leave. We graduate them. They stay. They committed to it, and we have success with that. And that's, to me, the most successful thing you can do.
And with all those returners, kind of shifting back to the court a little bit, who are some returners that you have kind of seen really put in that work over the offseason and maybe be ready to take a leap or fill a bigger role this year?
Logan Alvar, she's going to be a senior this year. She was a JUCO kid, so was, behind Al last year, but practiced against her every day. So limited minutes last year. Going to be a starting 5 for us this year, but put in a lot of work this summer because she knew now it was her turn, and she couldn't just go, hey, okay, it's just because Al graduated and I'm just going to have a chance. She knew she had to put in the work. Maddie Simmons is another one. Obviously, Melina has always put in the work. She's continued to grow in her game, and then all of our freshmen, Lana, Heather, Caroline, they all came back with a little chip on their shoulder, knowing, hey, it's our turn. And you can see that work that they put in the summer.
When you talk about the Mountain West Conference, what one word comes to mind?
Resilient. No matter what, you always see us, in the news. This has happened, that's happened. And we keep coming back to work, getting after it. Keep working, and somehow we're always talked about, and we're always there, and we're always going to be fighting, and we're always going to be getting people in the tournaments and right there at the top.
You kind of talked about your team, playing a little bit more motion, maybe different style, but in terms of strengths, are there some things that you're looking at this year's team, hopefully, or that you want to improve on from last year's team?
Probably just having a little bit more balance. I think, if Al wasn't having a great night, which didn't happen too often, but you could look at the game where she didn't play at Nevada and we only scored 44 points. Being able to have just some more balance where we can go, okay, hey, if somebody's having an off night, who can pick it up? And I think I've started to see that where we got, 3 to 4 players that can step up and on any given night and be able to score.
You mentioned everything going on in chaos. How do you stay calm and even keel with all the stuff that's going on with the different conferences and everything? And how are you able to adapt and evolve?
I mean, we just talk about it, and it's what I tell our players. We control the controllables. The things that we can control is our attitude, our effort, and coming every day to work. And I can't control who's leaving, who's coming, who's going. I can control how I come ready to, coach practice, how I come ready to attack the day. And I can control if I want to get better and if they want to get better.
Most important question. You look like you still play. Do you get out there once in a while?
I do every now and then. We joked about it before our scout guys got ready because, they got to go through the whole process of getting cleared to practice. Yeah. We had to jump in a couple times, and I said that might have been my last one. I think I might have retired a couple weeks ago after that. It took me too long to recover.
You don't want to move too fast one way or the other.
That's right.
So.
That's right.
Coach Helen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And looking forward to watching your team play.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
We have to give hand signals.
Hand signal, but like.
Welcome back to the Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Calvin Wetzel, and we are here with Coach Amanda Levens from Nevada. Welcome. Nevada. Excuse me, Nevada. Let's get that right.
Yes,
Names
yeah.
are important. Thank you for schooling me on that.
Yeah.
He
He always
does that
corrects
too,
you. Yeah.
So how's it been? You've been running around and
Yeah, it's great. We have 2 student athletes with us today that
Okay.
have never been here to Media
Oh,
Day, so
okay.
they're really enjoying it. Great experience for them. I appreciate the Mountain West for putting on a great day for them and a great experience. And obviously the venue is amazing.
yeah. And there's a Starbucks, which is the most
Oh,
important thing.
all right. I have to
Most
hit that on the way
important
out. Yeah.
So looking forward to you obviously having a good year. Can you talk about your expectations a little bit?
Yeah, so we have a lot of newness. We have 9 new players. We have 5 freshmen and 4 transfers. And
Let me just put my hand on
oh,
that
thank
right
you,
now.
thank you. But we're not unique. I think a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of teams are having the same situation. A
Yeah.
lot of new players, and everyone at this time of year is trying to figure it out, trying to see what's possible. What's exciting for me with our team is we get better every day, and I think we're going to be a work in progress, and that's what you want. You want to be playing your best basketball as you get into the second half of conference and hopefully playing late into March. And so I think that's possible for this group that we have.
You have a truncated schedule now, though. How are you able to get in what you need to get in with all the new players?
That's a great question. I'm kind of an organized person, so I like block plan it all out,
Okay.
and then I'll check things off to make sure we've covered everything. And then I think you have ideas sometimes of what you want to be good at, and maybe for this group it doesn't fit. And so we try some things, and it's not a good fit for our group, and they're better at other things, and you lean more on that. We do with the 9 new players. We have quite a few players that have played in college, with the transfers, and we have a nice group of 7 returners. So we have some good leadership internally of players that have been there, and we have some hungry players that are new.
Last year, you had one of the most balanced attacks in the country in terms of scoring. So many different players, between 7 and 12 points a game. Obviously, so many new players this year. Is that depth and kind of team first identity still going to be part of this year's group?
I think it will always be a part of a team if I'm the head coach. I really want them to buy into making the right play and how do I help my team win, and less focus on how many points am I getting, how many shots am I shooting, and just playing the game the right way. If somebody is more open, share the ball. I do think this year we have some players, capable of having big nights. Last year we were super balanced and maybe didn't have quite that firepower. But with this team, I think we hopefully will have a couple players that can step up and have bigger games if we need them to.
So Izzy and Hannah got some international experience. What do you think they're going to bring from that that's going to help your team be successful this season?
Well, the awesome thing about Hannah is that's the only basketball she's ever played. So she's used to playing fast, growing up with a 24-second shot clock. FIBA basketball is extremely physical, and she's very, very basketball savvy, smart. I think with Izzy, it allowed her to really grow her role as a leader and play in a position where she was really counted on to be a playmaker and a scorer for that team. And so I think that really elevated her confidence, knowing that she had to play well and do a lot of good things for her team to be successful. And, as a young player, she had to do that for us. And so now in her 3rd year, I think she'll just be, more comfortable in that position.
Your team does a lot with the community in terms of reading to elementary school kids, working with grade school kids, things like that. What can you talk about in terms of your team's impact with younger generations and kind of off the court?
Yeah, we have such a unique opportunity to be role models in the community, especially for young kids. And, basketball on TV has gotten a lot more prevalent now, but it wasn't when I was in college. And so for these young kids, especially females, to see strong female college-educated leaders, athletes come in and, spend their time with them, they just can influence them in such a positive way. The cool thing about Reno, I don't know how much time you guys have spent there, but the university is such a pride point in the community, and all of the athletics teams are like our WNBA team, our Major League Baseball team. And so the athletes are local celebrities. And so for those kids to get that kind of interaction, for them is so impactful.
So talk about your process and figuring out which transfers fit Nevada and how you go about that whole, now that we're in this new environment where you've got to kind of restructure every year.
Yeah. That's a great question. The hard part with that is they have to be interested in Nevada too. There's a lot of great players in there that you might want to welcome to your program, but they may not want to come to Nevada. So there's a lot of text messages and emails and things trying to figure out who those people are. I feel like the group of 4 that we got all kind of fit the way that we played offensively and defensively. We definitely wanted to identify some more post depth and size without giving up athleticism and wanting them to shoot the 3. So it's kind of a big, criteria to meet there. And then we look for a veteran backcourt guard, which we found in Cheyenne McEvans. She will be in her 6th season of college basketball, and she's just a veteran guard that can play the wing, great athlete, good offensive rebounder, and that was something we felt like we were missing.
You do have a lot of newcomers, but when you look at the returners, is there anyone who you've kind of seen put in that work over the offseason is poised to take a big jump into this year?
Yeah, well, I think Ahrray Young is just because she didn't play last year. You know what I mean? She had 2 pretty good seasons at Tulsa. Both were ended early by injury. And then her sophomore year, she was coming off of an injury that I don't think she was quite healed from. So when we brought her in out of the portal, our thing was like, you're not going to play for a year. Get completely healthy and come back and be the type of player you're capable of being. And she has really put in a lot of work to get her body healthy and put in a lot of work on her offensive individual skill set. And I think she's really, really hungry to go out and play. And she's excited to play a whole season of being completely healthy.
Everyone wants to shoot the 3 now. So how have you evolved defensively and how you scheme for that in your philosophy?
We typically pressure and get up on people. And so it's not a huge emphasis of our defense of like, you can't shoot or we don't allow people to shoot the 3. But I think the way our system is structured, it doesn't really allow for people to be very comfortable. And so hopefully that can help speed up the offensive team and just get them playing a little faster than they want to. And that allows for athletic rotations and things like that. So typically I think we've defended the 3-point line pretty well. And hopefully we can continue to do that with the depth that we have this season.
With that depth, is this like by design, you wanted to make sure you had depth? Are you going to run people in and out, not hockey style, but you feel like you're going to play a lot of people?
I think we can play 10-11 on any given night, and as the season goes on, I think sometimes that rotation gets a little bit shorter, but early in the season, you're trying to figure out the combinations and kind of who is going to play well on game day. But we ended last season, we were very, very injured and did not have any depth, and wanting to pressure and wanting to play fast, you got to have bodies to do that.
When you look at the Mountain West, obviously UNLV is always right there, but last year, like San Diego State makes the run, Wyoming, there's so many competitive teams and good coaches. What's your favorite part of coaching in such a competitive league like this?
I mean, everything you just said, great coaches, great players. There are no easy games. We have great venues to travel to on the road where people really care about women's basketball. And I think when you take a team and you're playing in an empty environment, like, it's fun, you're still getting to play, but when you get to go on the road and it's loud and there's thousands of people there, like, what an amazing experience. So all of that is super positive in the Mountain West.
What's going to be your definition of success this year? Obviously, you want to win more than you lose. You want to get to the championship. But outside of that, what's going to be your definition?
Great question. I think for us, every year we want to try to finish in the top 4 of the conference, and we want to play in a postseason tournament. Nevada's never been to the NCAA tournament. So that's always a goal of ours to try to get there. I think as a conference, we're making great strides forward. But right now, if you're not winning the tournament, nobody's getting in. But I think if we continue to build, we were very close last year. We had, I think, 3 teams that were really close to getting the WBIT. Like, that was a great step forward. And so I think as the coaches continue to be great, the administration continues to really care about women's basketball, the conference continues to care, I think you're going to see more than one team get in. And I hope that can happen really quickly for our conference.
Awesome. Well, Coach Levens, looking forward to watching Nevada play this year.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you both. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Kelton Wetzel. We are here with Boise State head coach Gordy Presnell. Coach, welcome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
Have you had a good time so far?
Yeah, it's great. It's great memories for our kids. It's a special day for them, something they'll never forget to be able to do this. And, pretty fun.
Well, Mountain West does a really good job, I think.
They're the best at this. I really believe that, and it's just fun. It's a fun day. You look forward to it, and it kind of kicks off the season, gets you excited.
At some point, you have to start playing. So, what are your expectations for this year?
Well, we play tomorrow at noon. So we fly home tonight and get on a bus, and we're going to have a closed door scrimmage tomorrow with the University of the State. So yeah, we got a lot of travel to do before now and noon tomorrow, but we're hoping to have a good season. We have our four leading scorers are returning, and we have a number of freshmen that we've signed, and then we've got a couple transfers that are eligible. So we took a trip to Greece in August to try to blend that all together and having a kind of an extended retreat kind of feel, and just had a wonderful time. It was a great experience for all of us, and so hopefully that kind of kicked off our season, and then we get going full blast here shortly.
Well, usually when teams go overseas, they're starting that early bonding, so and they pretty much have a good year. So we'll see what happens.
I hope I'll relay that message to my players.
Tell them I said that. Tell them I said that.
Yeah.
You're able to
Yeah.
be in an environment where, yes, you're playing, not necessarily concerned about the score, more about team chemistry and getting things right. And so I think that translates to why teams have better seasons.
I hope so. It was fun, and it's funny. We did a lot of things. We went to the resorts and got to play a couple games but just the eating together and being together and being around one another and seeing all our idiosyncrasies and our different backgrounds in life and getting all that out of the way and it really bonded us, and hopefully it makes it for a better season.
Well, I was going to ask about basketball, but if you went to Greece, I have to ask. Any good food? Any favorite memories?
One thing I was really proud of the players is they made commitment before they went over. They're going to try everything. So now a lot of seafood, and our starting point guard, like the old hitch, where they're all swelled up. had some shrimp, and that didn't go so well the next morning. And once again, that's a great memory for her, and so those are things that we got to establish. And, we've had a lot of success in the Mountain West through the years, and we've had a little dry spell here. And I think we have great senior leadership for an older team, and then we're going to throw in some young ones, and hopefully we'll have a great season.
You have three players that are close to setting records: Natalie Pasco, Dani Bayes, and Maya Hansen for 3-point shooting. Is that because of your system or another reason?
I think Natalie was a natural scorer. She played on one of the top clubs, Cal Stars, in the United States out of high school. She was a top 100 recruit and has really always shot the ball really well. Dani and Maya have come around. Maya actually is a career 40% 3-point shooter, and there's not very many of those. And speaking to the shooting with Natalie, at Christmas last year, she was one of 5 players that was 90, 50, 40. And obviously you get in our league and then everyone sees you twice and scouts, and they were able to take some of that away. But we're hoping that, with some addition in the post and maybe a few new wrinkles, that we can get her some more free time to get that shot off of hers.
You've touched on it already, how 6 freshmen, a lot of returners as well. Kind of 2-part question, like how important is the veteran leadership from those returners when you have so many freshmen, and how much of an advantage is it in 2025 when so many teams are so new with so many transfers to have the continuity with the returners? I
think we have great leadership, and they huddle after every practice without coaches and talk about the practice and the effort and that sort of thing. And one of the things that we kind of harp on them that I think these seniors are doing is you have to value team. I know it's a NLI and all that stuff, and the portal, but value in team is a great thing. It's a great thing to be on a women's basketball team, and it's a great thing just to be a part of a women's basketball team. I want that to be a value, and these guys, they've stayed for 4 years. That doesn't happen very often, and I think that we're getting that message across, hopefully, and then that's how you build culture. And culture obviously nowadays might be a 1-year thing, but we still want it to be a 4-year thing. And so I see the good in them, and I see what they're doing with our freshmen, and I feel great about them.
So you have 769 wins.
Once again, I'm 100 years old. Thank you.
No. I say that to say you obviously have evolved as time has gone on. Otherwise, you still wouldn't be in the profession. So, what's the biggest way that you've evolved with all the different changing in landscape athletics at your time in basketball?
Yeah, I think patience is, and not afraid now to go ask somebody. 30 years ago I thought I knew everything, and now I realize I really don't know very much of anything. And but I've really always enjoyed the kids. I don't think their lives, as much as everything has matured and everything's gotten better and faster and social media, I think their lives are harder than our lives, and I really do believe that. And so I want to press upon them just how much I value them, how important they are to me, and I want them to have a great college experience. I think the ultimate goal of a coach should be not wins and losses, but to make it fraternal. That you're a Bronco for the rest of your life, and you're always checking back on that 4-year experience. And so, if anything, I've tried to stay with those values. The game has changed immensely. I mean, we charter now, and 40 years ago, I drove a van with 10 players in the back, and I ruined more than one fender with chains trying to go over a pass. I have no just ask my wife. I have no mechanical ability whatsoever. But the game has changed. But I think kids have it a little harder. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but it's not easy. It isn't easy being a kid right now. And I want them to value being on a team and value what they have at Boise State.
I'll shift it back to the court a little bit. When you look at strengths and style of play and things like that, are there ways that you see this year's team being similar or different from last year's team?
We're much more perimeter oriented. Now we have a transfer that hasn't played yet. Emily Howard from Liberty is about 6'5", 6'6", and so she isn't healthy yet, but she will be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then kid from Masters College, Maddie, is 6'4". So we have some big ones that I think are going to really help us. I think our leadership is a little bit better, but we're trying to run. We'll put it this way: we're trying to run Princeton a little bit, and
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well. We loved it too in June, and so there's about 7 sections of Princeton with about 10 or 15, 20 specials off each section, and so we had said, well, we'll just put in 3 or 4, and we've been going since the end of June because of the grease strip and everything, and we have 1 section in with about 5 or 6 specials, and that's all we've gotten so far. But we look good 5-on-0.
They will. I ran that when I worked at Princeton. They will get it eventually.
Okay.
It's just you're gonna have to bite your tongue.
Yeah.
A lot between now and then.
Yeah, it's really fun and it's creative, and everyone is interchangeable, and there's so many fun things about it. I wasn't really ready for us to not be able to throw a left-handed push pass. So there's some skill work that's involved for sure. But it's been fun to do something different, and it's made me, maybe fresh again with some of the stuff that we're running.
Just tell them stay outside the 3-point line unless you're doing something.
Well, spacing is an issue, but I'll let them know that as well, because that's very important. Yes, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
When it comes to the Mountain West, so many competitive teams, and it's only getting more competitive, and so many good coaches in this league. What's your favorite part of coaching in this conference?
I think preparation is really fun. It's there's such a diversity in style of play. You go to Wyoming and first of all, you feel like you're running in sand, but they're going to hold the ball for 25 seconds, and then you go to New Mexico, and they're jacking up the 3 as soon as they get down at the other end. And for our kids to get some of those teams, it's a long ways down to that one end, and then you got to turn around and go all the way back, And so I think the diversity and style of play makes it really fun, and you have to put a premium on scouting.
What's going to be your definition of success this year in the league?
We want to upgrade our program. We want to have a great vision for what we want to be, and one of it, I'll feel successful if we become a little more physical. We can be pretty soft sometimes. Our kids, they're academic too. We were number 2 in the nation at 3.82 GPA for the 17 kids who were on last year's team, and so we need to get a little more physical. I feel great about that, but also getting back to, maybe I'm too old to worry about the wins and losses, but the fraternalness. I'll feel great at the end of the year if these kids feel like they've had a great experience and they're Broncos for life.
So 3.82, you picked the right offense because they need to be. They need to have some brains to figure that out.
Yeah, that's for sure. And sometimes I wonder how we got that 3.82.
You just have to tell them, just do what I say. Don't
Yeah,
ask them any
that's
questions.
right.
Just do what I say.
That's for sure.
Boise State coach Presnell, thank you very much. I look
Oh,
forward to watching you guys play.
Thank
this
you
year.
so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
name. Well, I shouldn't say that. I used to be the Cosby Show. I don't know if I should say that.
Oh, man.
All right. So
That's
we're
all right.
good. All right. Welcome back to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Calvin Wetzel, and we are here with Coach Helen Williams from Colorado State. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
You got the best last name.
You have the best last name.
There you go.
So.
There you go. How's it been so far? Just they're making you go around and talk
Hey,
to people.
yeah, this is a fun experience. I know our ladies really enjoy it. And each year it gets better and better. The Mountain West has done a tremendous job of just elevating the media days and showing off the student athletes, which the Mountain West has exceptional young women in it, and so it's fun. And the fact that it's in Vegas is not a bad thing either.
Not a bad
So,
thing at all.
yeah.
Not a bad thing. So this is obviously a signal that the season's about to begin. What are your expectations? Early in the season.
Yeah, that we've got a lot of new kids. We're 7 newbies and 7 returners. But I think our expectation is that of excitement. I mean, we like our team. We continue to grow it every single day. I think we've got a nice blend of experience and some newness that will surely help us. We were excited about the kids that we retained, and in this day and age, it's about retaining the right players and then adding some newness that can really elevate you. And I think we did a nice job of that. So I'm excited about it. I know our kids in the locker room are excited about it, but we know the challenge in front of us is also daunting with a tough non-conference schedule. And I think the league will be the best it's ever been, in all honesty.
What's the non-negotiable so that you can integrate those new kids with the experienced kids?
The non-negotiables. I just think when we look at recruiting, whether they're freshmen or transfer players into our program, the non-negotiables are they have to love basketball. They've got to fit our culture, which is, a togetherness type of culture. They've got to believe in work. They've got to believe in team first, and so. And they've got to believe in being a student athlete. I mean, Colorado State's a very prestigious academic institution, and so those are just things that we do not stray from. And and all of our players, they come from incredible families. They do hold themselves to a high standard, which is what we're all about.
You said something a couple minutes ago that the Mountain West might be the best it's ever been, and I think when you look up and down the landscape right now and add Grand Canyon, it only makes it tougher. I think you might be right. What is your favorite part about coaching in such a challenging league with so many good teams and coaches?
Yeah, just that. I mean, I think coaches are competitors, right? They love challenges, and they love solving problems, and bringing a Grand Canyon in or what have you. That's a problem, and so. I love the fact that the league is very competitive night in and night out. You have a lot of really good coaches. And I think the thing that's been noticeable to me, I've been in the league 14 years now, is just that I think every institution for the most part is really doing a nice job of, resourcing their women's basketball programs and growing it. And that you can see that's why the league is elevated and attracting really nice talent. And the better your players are, the better your league's going to be. And I think we've got some really nice talent in this league. And we're excited about the talent we have, too, at Colorado State.
So most wins in Colorado State history. 9 20-win seasons, 4 straight. Those 5 conference championships, 7 postseason appearances. What's the secret sauce?
Good players. I mean, I've been blessed to have really good coaches to work alongside along the way. I think Colorado State's an attractive place to go to school. It's fun to recruit good talent there, and we've been blessed with good players. But also, going back all the way to the Becky Hammond days, Colorado State and Fort Collins has really embraced women's basketball and women's sports in general. So that really helps us. You know, the Moby Madness thing is for real. It's no joke. And so it's fun to represent that. But I'm only successful because of our players, our fans, our coaches. And we've got an administration too, you guys, that really believe in women's basketball. And so we've, you know, I hope everybody says that when they're sitting at this table. But I mean, our administration, from Amy Parsons to my boss, you know, John Weber, exceptional. So it's fun to come to work every day and fun to be their basketball coach.
Well, when Helen asked the secret sauce question, if she asked me about your team, I would have said protecting the ball. Your team has led the country in turnover rate, lowest turnover rate for the last 5 years. 1 year you slacked off past second.
Yeah.
How much do you emphasize making sure you get a good look every time?
Yeah, we fired that coach that got a second. He was the turnover coach. No, we just believe in, you know, it's a game of possessions, right? And there's a lot of way to create more possessions for your team. Some teams press and some teams crash the old glass all the time, or, you know, we just really value the ball and not create offense for the other team. And so, and we've been very fortunate to have quality lead guard play, and we recruit versatile players. Even our bigs throughout the years have been like point forwards. And so I think just the way we kind of go about our philosophy in playing offense and whose ball, you know, whose hand the ball is in is big. But we take pride in that. Doesn't mean we play cautious at all. I mean, our pace of play is up there, highly ranked in the country as well. But we emphasize it a lot in practice. We have a turnover cart, and if, you know, we put so many balls on it during a practice, and if those balls, you know, we take one off for each turnover, it's quite the consequence. Let's just say that. So.
You've been a head coach for a long time. Have you embraced any type of analytics in terms of pace of play, turnover?
Yeah. I'm careful not to get overly caught up in it. I do like the numbers. I really do. And but I think maybe being a little older coach, it's still, I trust my eye and I trust my gut. I trust that, hey, you're the best player, you're going to get the most shots, you know, and, you know, you're the best defender, you better be on the floor. But numbers don't lie. You know, they're a huge part of our game right now. And from who you have on the floor to, you know, where you're shooting the ball from, to a lot of things, to pace of play, to ball security, to how you go about a scout. You know, the percentage of times you go left, the percentage of times you go right. We do buy into all that stuff. And I think as our coaching staff, probably we don't share all of it with our players. We want them being instinctive. We want them to play with that freedom and that randomness that, you know, makes them the special players they are. So we don't paralyze them that way. But basketball is a different game today because of numbers. And the 3-point line, and, you know, the shot clock. And so you have to embrace it, you know, and the feedback you get from those numbers, I think it can make your team better. And so I think you'd be silly not to use some of that stuff.
You lose leading scorer Emma Ronsiek from last year, basically double anyone else on your team in terms of scoring. So where does some of that production come from this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, you know, the strength of our team, it seems like early in our practices and our, you know, we did have an exhibition the other night, is kind of the balance type of strength. We might not have that, you know, go-to type of kid like we've had in the past with a Ronsiek or a Hofschild or that sort of thing. I just think we've got a really well-balanced team. I think we've got more options, more threats. And, you know, but if we were to identify a few kids, I would have to say Lexus Bargesser, the young lady from Indiana. Now, her numbers might not show that if you look at her IU stats, but that young lady can score the basketball. That young lady can facilitate an offense, and we'll use her fairly similarly as we did like a Hoff Shield and a Ronsiek combined. And she's somebody that I think can kind of pick up the slack with Emma graduating. But kids like Kloe Froebe, Brooke Carlson, Marty Lehman, Hannah Ronsiek, they've all elevated their games. They have got more in the tank, and we expect them to have nice seasons as well.
Yeah, that was my next question about Kloe Froebe, but where did you want her to improve over the summer, and have you seen it?
Yeah, we have. Kloe worked really hard on just being more consistent from the three-point line. She's a young lady that can really drive the ball. She brings force to your offense and how she gets to the rim and finishes and gets fouled. And she can kind of play in that mid-pro post, we call it. But she needed to improve her three-point percentage and threat from that line. And she's, done that. And every indication in our early practices is that, yeah, she's going to have a really nice year there. And that sets up the strength of her game, which is, getting that sucker to the rim.
What's going to be your definition of success for this year? Well, we know you want to win.
Beat
more
South
than
Carolina in national championship game. Let's go. It's
There you
over.
go.
No,
Let's
hey,
just big aspiration.
let's go.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a really good question. I guess if I were to answer that like I do, every single year, I just want to do my job and make sure I make this team the best team they possibly can become. And I really believe in the options, the weapons that we do have. We've added more interior force and height and scoring. I think we're a little more athletic on the perimeter. I think we've got some good basketball players, and a successful season is getting them to be their best. And if that's the case, then I think they can win a lot of basketball games.
Coach Williams, Colorado State. Thank you.
All
Looking
right.
forward to watching you play.
Helen Williams, the best. All right, pal. You betcha.
Awesome. Welcome back to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams, and I'm with Calvin Wetzel and Coach Ryun McCarthy from, I was going to say Alaska Anchorage, but no, Fresno State.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you.
How's the better weather?
It's been awesome. Yeah, my family and I have really enjoyed it, and going to bed when there's no sun out, which is nice in the summertime, and normal light and dark hours. So, outside of that, the people have been great. We've loved every minute of it.
What, besides the wonderful weather, went into you deciding to make that change and go to Fresno State?
I just felt I was at a point in my career where, up in Alaska, we weren't really by any family. A lot of my family had moved down to the lower 48. And I think, this opportunity, I felt really aligned from a value standpoint with where we were at UAA. And Anchorage and Fresno share a lot of similarities culturally. And just, a blue collar mentality, that toughness. And, I thought that our style would be embraced in that kind of community. And so far it has. And, I don't doubt my decision one bit. I've really enjoyed it. And being able to work with a really great AD like Classy has been great.
Awesome.
Your team's at Alaska Anchorage. You crashed the glass, created turnovers, pushed the page, shared the ball. You've called it mayhem.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that mayhem style that you're now bringing to Fresno State?
Yeah, I mean, it's really demanding. I promise every recruit and their family that there will be no coach that will be more demanding on their daughter than me. And our style proves that. It's not just, how hard practices are or anything like that. I just think the style of play is really demanding. And I think it causes, we value possession. So we want the ball back, whether it's on a no board or creating some sort of turnover, but that statistic is really important to us. And so mayhem is, gets everybody involved. It's a bit chaotic at times, but I guess, organized chaos would be the best way to describe it, and really demanding.
So what were the first couple of things that you felt were priorities when you took over at Fresno State?
Well, one was to build a roster. They had 3 people that had returned to the team, and they had lost a majority of their roster before I think they were even maybe doing interviews. So I brought 5 young ladies with me to Fresno, and we were, beating the streets on the transfer portal and JUCO kids that were still left over. And so that was kind of number one. And then, number 2 was, just getting established in the community. And, outside of the regular life stuff of moving all my belongings down of 13 years from Anchorage, Alaska to Fresno, California, and my poor wife, helping us get a house and all that kind of stuff. So, those were kind of from a program standpoint, just getting into the community, getting a roster together and making sure that we could start summer workouts on time.
When you're taking over a new program in year one, how do you kind of balance or managing the expectations in an era where it is possible to win sooner than it used to be with the transfer portal, but at the same time, it takes time to still instill your identity and your culture, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for us, we've always just kind of, and it sounds cliche, we've been about the process, of that. I think we could probably, get that done a little bit quicker from a cultural standpoint, from bringing 5 players with us down to Fresno that understand the workload, understands the demands that we have and what our expectations are of actually playing hard. And, so I think that part was the most important. And I think the winning and those types of things are kind of a byproduct of, that process. So, I'm interested to see, I think I was saying this in another interview that, it's kind of like the fight game. Everybody talks about how tough they are, and you got to roll the ball out sometime and prove it, right? So that's what I'm really excited about.
Well, what attracted you about the Mountain West and the challenge it's going to be in terms of it being a tough conference?
Yeah, it's really hard conference. I wanted the challenge. Like I embraced that. I'm at a point in my career, I'm really confident in what we do. And maybe early on, this would have maybe intimidated me or something like that. But outside of the conference, I really believed in the institution. Like I believed in the mission. I believed in the AD. And I think that kind of transfers levels, like that regardless of what conference we were in, this would be a school that I would choose to represent. And I think with the Mountain West, the biggest difference to me are there are no nights off. You know, at the Division II level and the lower levels that you go, you get more nights off where you're probably 40 to 50 points better than whoever your opponent is, and you know, that just doesn't happen, and especially at this level of Division I. So it's, you know, it's going to be something where, you know, accountability is going to be a really big thing, and for us coaches and for our ladies, that we've got to get better every single day, and we've got to keep learning, and you know, come into this process really humble to that.
But I'll ask you, you're 16 ranked wins, 8 wins against Division I programs there. How do you approach trying to play the best teams and scheduling now as a D1 program?
Yeah, it's night in and night out. Now, you know, we had the Great Alaska Shootout, so we would get an opportunity to compete against that level. And, you know, that is going to be a challenge moving forward. You know, when I took this job, the majority of our schedule was already kind of set. And so we are what we are at that point. But, you know, that's something that, you know, moving forward and using this year, we'll play, you know, a top 25 program like UW and a Power 4 team like BYU to be able to get ready for, you know, the Mountain West play. And I just feel like those types of games hold your team accountable. You know, when you make mistakes against that level of competition, those become points. And so I always felt, you know, at least at UAA, we learned the most about our team around Thanksgiving time. You know, we kind of been through some battles and we're kind of gearing up for league play. But at that point in time, you know where your points are coming from, you know, who you want to put in space, how you want to defend certain actions and things like that, like ball screens or whatever. And so, you know, I think that's what I'm really excited about too, is we kind of know who we want to be, but we don't know necessarily how we're going to do it, you know, once we get into the Mountain West, you know, night in and night out facing guys like this.
You smile when you say that.
Yeah, this is going to be a gauntlet. So, you know, it's it'll help us all grow. I'm excited.
What will be the milestones that you'll be looking for to, as you go through the non-conference, that help you feel like, I mean, you're never really ready until you actually do it, but
Right.
that you're, you know, able to compete?
You know, we've had a couple scrimmages where, you know, I feel like we can do this, and we've got a team that hasn't played well and still came out on top. And so, you know, some of that stuff is, we do create a lot of turnovers, but taking care of the ball ourselves, that'll be a huge milestone. We'll throw a party when we stop doing that. And I just think from a depth standpoint, finding out where that, you know, what number is that? You know, is it 10? Is it 8? And I think, you know, adjusting the way that we play to that number. And so I think that will be a big milestone for us, is when we kind of settle into, okay, we're playing at our highest level when we're playing this rotation, and be able to, you know, deliver that message to our team to keep those ladies who are on the outside looking in hungry, and keep them in the gym so that, you know, they can ultimately fulfill our culture.
Are there some things that you've learned at some of your previous coaching stops that you feel like help better prepare you to take over as a head coach of the D1 program?
Yeah, I think it's kind of all the same. You know, I started my career at Northwest Nazarene, and you know, then we go to Anchorage, and it's a much bigger market. You're the only show in town of a city of like 400,000, and so that part was not really an adjustment for me. I think a lot of the things that have nothing to do with basketball were, and you know, I think that the Great Alaska Shootout helped kind of give us. We played all sorts of competition, from Power 4s to low majors, and there were times we played Division I's and we had a better roster, like we were just better. And there were times where we would win and we didn't have a better roster, we just played harder. And so I think being able to see that, but also being able to see those great programs that came in that humbled us and put us in our place, and it was like, okay, well, yeah, there is another level to this, and these are some of the things they did really well that hurt us, and these are areas that we really want to improve on. So to me, that, and then just being like a learner of this game, like I've taken a lot just from other programs, and especially overseas in some of those Euro leagues. So I just felt like this was time, like this, we're ready for this, and we're confident in what we do. And, you know, we're still humble to the fact that, you know, we're going to learn a lot this year, and hopefully I can keep learning the rest of my career, you know?
Yeah.
You mentioned you brought 5 players. One of the most important things to do when you take over a new position is staff. So did you bring your staff or did you have a new staff?
No, I brought my whole staff. My staff are my best friends. And so, my wife is on my staff. My associate head coach has been with me now for 14 years. So everybody came down from Anchorage. One of my best friends, Ramondo Vaughn, who trained Steph Curry, was a head coach at one of the best junior colleges in California in Oakland. And then our other was Becca Bornhorst, and she was in my wife and I's wedding. So these are some of our closest people. Yeah, I love going to work every day.
It should help for sure.
Yeah.
So how are you going to define success in your first year? Everybody has a different way of looking at it.
I think as long as we can establish the culture that is successful, I think if we can do that, regardless of what the outcomes are, it's going to set us up to actually build a program that means something, that lasts, leaves a legacy for these ladies. And make no mistake about it. Like if you don't use winning in that, then probably shouldn't be in sports. Like we keep score at the end of the day. So a lot of that is going to be putting W's up there. Because if we don't, we could be really successful without W's and I'm going to get fired. So yeah, I think winning does have a big part of that. But I think winning is a byproduct of all the things that I think make a successful team.
Have you learned the fight song yet?
Yes. Yeah. BULLODOGS. Go Dogs, go. Fight dog, fight. Go Dogs.
Pass the test.
Well, Coach McCarthy, thank you.
Thank
Wish you
you.
well at Fresno State. Look forward to watching you guys play.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
What school did you play at?
I played at Wake Forest, but I
Okay.
coached a couple schools. I took my team at Merrimack when I was head coach to Alaska to play.
Okay.
And then I forget what Division I school I was at. We went over there too. So
Okay.
It was
A couple of times up there.
Yeah, song, and I still have my. I don't know what you call them, those things where they.
So ice
cut
cream.
the whales.
Oh, cut the whales. The Hulu night.
Yes. I
Yeah.
still have my Hulu. Are on schedules, and sometimes
Yeah.
you guys want to get in early. And
Yeah. couple of them that, like, who was it, had a game tomorrow at noon or whatever.
Oh, really?
Trying to
Yeah.
get out. We
So,
gotta keep busy ball.
Yeah,
Jeez.
so it's all good. So
Fair enough.
there you go.
Oh, let me move
You
this
gotta
up.
have the
Yeah, well, listen, in Arizona, like,
and your
it
kids
gets
will
dry.
tell you if you need it, right? Your players
Oh,
will
that.
say-
There you go. I tell our players, I'm like, hey, yo, we have, what do you call it? I think it's probably the first place I've been in where we have gum and a thing of chapstick
There you go.
on the court. Because you never know when somebody's going to need it.
Gotta be ready.
So,
Gotta be ready. All right, awesome. All right. Welcome back to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Calvin Wetzel. We're sitting here with Coach Winston Gandy from Grand Canyon. New coach, new school, new conference. Everything's new. How you doing?
listen, very grateful to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And, it's hard to believe it's about a week and a half away from let's get the season going.
Well, how are you feeling about your team? This is a time where I'm sure you've had some scrimmages and you have some idea, what your team might look like. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm feeling a whole lot better about the team than I was probably in the summer. And so that's kind of given me where sometimes you kind of get lost in the minutia of the day-to-day part, if you will, but they've gotten better. And so when I look back at where we were at the start of the summer, where we were at the end of the summer, where we were at the start of preseason, where we are now, we've gotten better. Now, what that'll look like when it's all said and done, when you start adding fans and, the pressures of, the natural game,
Sure.
Who knows? But, I am liking the direction that they're trending, for sure.
Well, you've coached for legends, Dawn Staley, Gold Standard, Kara
Yes.
Lawson. Now coming into your first year as a head coach, what have you learned from them, or what can you take from those experiences that has prepared you to be a head coach?
Well, I mean, each one, starting when I was an undergrad with Brenda to Tina to, as you said, Kara and Dawn. I think, Dawn is so consistent as a leader, as a person. And that's one of the things, even, in the NBA where I was fortunate enough to spend some time, players want consistency. Just like as coaches, you want consistency. You want to know what you're getting, right? Players want to know who they're going to get when they come in, day in, day out, whether it's a good game, bad game, a good week, bad week. Things going on off the court, things are great off the court. And so I think from that standpoint, I've realized how important consistency is. And, with Kara, I think, her attention to detail, very process oriented, that level of detail and focus, and the standard that you can hold them to, you pick up things along the way. I mean, obviously when you talk about impacting people's lives, that's why I do it. Of course we like the wins, maybe not so much the losses, but, for me, I think that's one of the things, when you go back to Tina and even Brenda, like, and even Dawn, is you're impacting people's lives. And not everybody has a goal to be a pro. But when you find out what your players want and you can play a huge part in helping them get to whatever that goal or end goal is, it's very, very, very satisfying.
I'm going to take it one step further. When I was an assistant coach, I had said when I got to be a head coach, I was going to do X, Y, and Z. And then I moved over that 1 inch to the chair, and I was like, oh, that's why they did that or didn't do that. So tell me one thing that you, when you took over the head coaching job, you had said, I'm not going to do it that way. And then you're like, oh, now I understand why they did it that way.
That's a great question.
Great question. I think the biggest thing probably for me is, as an assistant, you have all these ideas. And you have all these ideas that you think will do this or you think will do that. And I think as a head coach, I realized it really doesn't matter what you think as an assistant. It's more in the sense of what best helps your head coach and the vision that they have, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so I think for me is some of the stuff that I would be like, whether it's equipment stuff or travel stuff, when we leave, how we leave, academic stuff, everybody wants to know what the head coach wants. And so obviously don't take that lightly, but there are decisions that we make, which I think I realize now, from
the coaches I work for is, you always go what's in the best interest of your players. And very rarely will you go wrong if you look at it through that lens.
Great list.
Yes.
Great list.
Yes.
Well, kind of sticking on, the theme of moving from that 1 inch, like Helen said, I was talking to Coach Brooks from Utah State at this event last year. We talked to him again a little bit. And last year, he was in the same position where he came from a power conference assistant under Coach McGuff at Ohio State to be a head coach. And he was talking about how one thing that he felt like that really helped him in his recruiting-wise, developing those relationships. And Coach McGuff might have a player isn't going to be at Ohio State and says, hey, I know this great guy, Coach Brooks. How do you feel like the relationships that you've developed at your different stops, especially in the power conference schools, will help you in regards to recruiting or in regards to building your program and things like that?
Well, I learned very, very early on, going back to my Maryland and even Rice days, right? Recruiting is obviously how you build a program and keep a program going. And obviously I saw the epitome of that with Dawn, where to me, it's not the level at which he wins. I think for me, it's sustaining that level of excellence. That's the hardest part. Anybody can have a year or have a strong tournament or postseason. I think for the recruiting part, relationships, I'm big on relationships because I think that it's easy to have a relationship with somebody when you need something from them. And I've been fortunate enough, obviously, to be at different places where different people along the way could help me. And then there were some places I was at where people I still had a relationship with, even though they really couldn't do anything for me. And so that to me is what makes it organic, authentic, where people don't feel like it's as transactional. And so obviously when you're in a position, as I am now, like there's people that maybe couldn't help me at my last 2 stops that now they can. And the relationship's already there versus me trying to develop those relationships because I need something, if that makes sense. And I think that'd be a great lesson for everybody where, just if you treat people well and you're genuine when you don't need anything, when you do need to call them for whether it's a favor or suggestion or just their time, you'd find more people would be willing to acquiesce and give that.
Yeah, I love that.
So you're in a new conference, and I know most coaches, you've probably done a little bit of short scouting on some of the teams. What's your impression of the Mountain West Conference?
Well, I think obviously, UNLV has been really, really good, regardless of who they've had on the roster. Lindy's done a great job. I mean, you start to go down and you look. I mean, Colorado State, I remember they were playing SEC teams when the last couple of years, and I would watch teams play them. And so, when you start to go down, you look at the teams that are at the top. They should be. That's where they've been. I think the depth in this league is incredible. Quite frankly, there's some conferences where you can circle and say, okay, that's going to be a win. That's going to feel like a bye, and you don't really have that here. And so, obviously, our work is cut out for us, and I think that's the fun part, where it's a lot of new, but even within a lot of new, you do have some known entities. And so it's one of those things where we're excited to kind of see where we are when it's all said and done from that standpoint. But there's a lot of great coaches and a lot of great programs within this league that, you've seen if you go back the last 3, 4, 5 years.
What milestones are you going to look at so that you'll know whether or not you're prepared to go into conference season?
Well, I think our non-conference. I think that's one of the things I think I specifically learned from Dawn is who will play anybody, anywhere. She kind of gave me the old adage in the sense of you want to find out about your team before conference. Because once you get to conference, it's really, really hard to change the identity or to change fundamental pieces, foundational pieces of your team if you wait 2 months into the season. So I do think our non-conference is going to prepare us well for conference, but I want to see us get better. I want to see us, there's tangible things, obviously, from a basketball standpoint, whether it's taking care of the ball, the synergy between our team. It doesn't matter what collection of guards we have in, that there's a way we want to play, and I hope to see that. Here you go, more times than not as we get through the non-conference. So that would be kind of more the barometer, if anything else, versus, a certain amount of wins. because the team's done nothing but show me the more time you give them, the better that they get. And so that is what I'm hoping this non-conference these next 2 months. If anything else, I'll be pleased if I can see that.
Well, I want to ask you about the Havocs.
Yeah.
Student section.
Yes.
Yeah, student section is great. I even remember, like, I forget who it was. There was a player on the men's side a few years ago who was in the three-point contest, and it was there. And their student set, like, even for just a three-point contest, student section is crazy. Like, what are you looking forward to the most about their sport? Is that part of what brought you to Phoenix, or why else did you choose this job?
Well, I think for me, obviously, you know, they're on the short list, one, because of the university. You know, I think they've been kind of on the cutting edge, and, you know, I'm one of those where there's a lot of people that say a lot of things, but for me, your actions speak louder than words. And so the administration, from our first phone call to this day, has delivered, you know, has been supportive, because, you know, as you all know, it's nothing worse than you agreeing or thinking you have something, and then you get into the day-to-day monotony grind, and then you start to see, oh, it's not like this, or oh, it's not really as supportive as that. And so I'm a big believer in the people make the place. We have phenomenal people from the top down, which for me made it very, very easy. You know, obviously I was at a special place in South Carolina. Like, you weren't leaving for a good opportunity. You're leaving for a great one. And so, because I was leaving a great situation. And so there was no mistake that I'm here, obviously, at Grand Canyon, but very, very intentional. When it comes to the Havocs, you know, I will tell you this, when it comes to the organization, I don't think I've seen a student-driven organization that they've got a president, a vice president, you know, they've got a seat at the table with administrators. Like, it's phenomenal, just the line of synergy and the line of just symmetry from top down, and the support that they give to all the sports, but to basketball in particular, you know. And so we hope, obviously, you know, you go to different places, right? Some people talk about elevation and this, that, and the other. You know, I do hope that they're talking about our environment, you know, from that standpoint, because I do believe it's special and will be special this year. But, you know, I hope that it's just one of those things where when people know they come to Grand Canyon, it's just something you've got to deal with. Kind of like when you go to, you know, your Wyomings of the world, Colorado State, you got to deal with elevation. That part's not changing. It is what it is. So it's a part of the game plan, part of the things that you got to consider when you're playing.
What do you, as a first-year head coach, hope to learn about yourself by the end of the season?
I think that's a really good question. What I hope to learn about myself. I think I want to learn just how patient I am. I'd like to think I'm a patient person. But, you know, my wife will be the first one to tell me, like, sometimes my patience runs a little low when I walk through the door. And so I'm hoping that my bandwidth from a patient standpoint, you know, I do believe the best coaches meet players where they are, and then slowly get them to where you want them to be. You can't just stand as a coach where you want to be and expect players to get you there. Some will, but a lot won't. And so I'm hoping that I will have, or at least my level of patience, I will be like, wow, you really are. So I wouldn't say I'm there yet.
Great self-awareness. Well, Coach Gandy, thank you for your time. Wish you well in your first year in the conference play.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you both.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Look forward to watching you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, basketball season's about to start. What about that? I get to sit here and keep talking. Yeah. That's your microphone.
Put this on somewhere.
I'm gonna treat you nice. My players former players probably don't want me to, because I was at maybe, but I'm gonna treat you nice.
And say your name.
Cal.
Calvin.
Helen.
Helen. Stacy.
Great to meet you. So.
All right. All right, welcome back to Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Calvin Wetzel, and we're here with Coach Stacy McIntyre from Air Force. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. How's it going? You about to finish out the day?
Hey, just long day, but a good day. A lot of media and always a great experience. Would have been better if we could have had our kids here, because of the government
They have
shutdown.
some things to do, so
weren't
kind of
either.
hard to.
Yeah, and they were really looking forward to this. So just wish they could have had the same experience.
Well, how do you think the season's going to go? You've had some time now, with your players, second year, systems in, everything. What are you looking forward to most?
Just having experience. We had an experienced team last year, and oftentimes, if it's graduation, you can lose a lot, and we're going to miss our seniors from last year, but two very talented, hardworking seniors this year, and just a wealth of juniors that just did a lot for us last year and have a ton of experience, along with two freshmen that are going to help as well.
The junior class at an academy is extremely important. How much are you leaning on them?
And I think you're very familiar. Just it's one of the challenges of building a program at a service academy is keeping large classes like that together, and can't believe how time flies. I remember when each one of those juniors were in the admissions process, but they're experienced. We're gonna, need a lot from them, and but just I always say junior years when the lights turn on, like you get it. You may not, execute it, perfectly the first time, but the learning curve, they get it. They know exactly what the expectation is, and they're able just to transfer and apply things that we're doing in practice to the game.
Well, last year was one of the best offenses, maybe the best offense in Air Force history, the most points scored ever in program history. What was the key to that offensive success, and how do you continue that trajectory this year?
Just great staff, and really focused on offense. And all of our hires were important, whether it was recruiting or just knowing the academy, but specifically Adam Wardenberg coming on staff and being in charge of our offense. And I always say it doesn't matter what offense you run, you got to have players to do it. So it helps to have the Milahnie Perrys and Keely O'Hallerans and kids like that who can really put points on the board.
What are your expectations in terms of how you want to grow through the non-conference schedule before you get to your conference?
We have a lot of road games, so I think that's going to test us and prepare us for the Mountain West Conference. We always like to play, a lot of home games, but I think just getting that experience early on against some tough teams, and playing a tough UCSD team. They went to the tournament last year, playing a tough road game at South Dakota, and then going to Oregon State. So just being battle tested and ready to start the conference off on a positive note.
Are there any milestones that you're going to be looking for during that time period to let you know that you're ready for conference play?
Well, hopefully, just having our defense where it should be. One of the priorities last year was, not putting teams on the free throw line as much as we did last year. So that's certainly something that's important. And then just, having those kids, those seniors out there, and just getting them significant minutes, productive significant minutes, and how important that's going to be. But I think just, putting them in a position to be successful on the floor.
and having them out there, as long as they possibly can. I think before you start those rotations, but I think just getting that experience out there and getting tested.
You have a very strong freshman class coming in. What can you tell us about what they'll bring to the team and what their impact will look like this year?
So we do have a lot of freshmen. A couple of them we're trying to get back, but two in particular, Maddie Jensen and Brett Clay, both come from great high school experiences. Brett Clay, I mean, how many high school players get to say they've been to 3 state tournaments? And she won a state tournament her sophomore year and runner-up junior and senior year, and then Maddie Jensen comes from one great club program in Wisconsin, Lakers, and just a really smart point guard, and she's just going to continue to develop and just get better and better.
So we talk about everybody that has transfer portal. You're a little bit different. How much do you use the prep school? Is that a good tool for you in terms of getting kids, there to the academy, giving them a path to the academy, which is a little bit like transfer portal? So how much do you use the prep school?
I mean, we're grateful for it. And, it's just those, 1 or 2 kids that may not, academically fit the profile to be admitted to the academy right out of high school. They have an opportunity to go to the prep school and not just develop on the basketball court, but also academically. And, while Maddie Jensen and Brett Clay didn't originate from the prep school, we do have some good kids coming up from that program. So, it does help, just as you shared earlier, that we don't, have as many opportunities in the transfer portal as most schools. So, we're just grateful that we can put kids there that really not just want to play sport, but also want to serve their country and be great officers in the Air Force, and then help our program in the meantime.
Getting the opportunity last year to play in the WNIT, how does getting to the postseason kind of help your team gain some of that experience and momentum for this season?
It's important. That's the second time we've been in the postseason since I've been at the Air Force Academy. So it just heightens expectation. I think when we first came to the academy and just were building a program, we were just trying to get our program to the point where it was competitive. And now just total change in expectation, meaning, hey, you want to, get to 20 plus wins if you can, and get to postseason play. But the most important thing is just that the message is that is the expectation for your program.
Along those lines, obviously you have young ladies that want to be a part of the Air Force Academy, but how do you parse out the ballers? Because I know you want ballers there, even though obviously it's a different environment. How do you figure that out?
I think we go out and recruit like everybody else. We go out to those club tournaments in the summer and find players that are a great fit for our program, just from a basketball standpoint, and then we pray that they're just good students. They're pretty smart, and that they're open to service. And I think probably 80% of the recruits that we contact, they often think that we're asking them to enlist in the Air Force. They don't really realize that it's a 4-year university and opportunity. But we try to find the best and the brightest, and clearly we have to have that to be successful on the basketball court, but also to be successful at a service academy from an academic standpoint.
When you look at the on-court product in terms of strengths and style of play and things like that, are there some areas that you see this year's team maybe being similar or different to last year's team?
Well, kind of the foundation of our program is just hard work. We have always, from a defensive standpoint, pressured teams. We held teams to 63 points a game last year, and we want to stay at 63 or below this year. So that's probably not going to change. We've made some adjustments defensively, some things that we've done differently over the years. Last year, we'll continue to do that. But, the goal is just to hold teams to clearly the lowest number we possibly can. And then, as you said earlier, just be even more productive than we were last year offensively.
When you hear Mountain West Conference, what one word comes to mind and why?
Competitive. Anytime you have UNLV and Colorado State and Boise State, we always say we wish we could borrow just one or two of Boise State's or Gordy's 6'4" kids or 6'3" kids over the years, but I think there's just no nights off. And I don't, yes, there's a great deal more parity in the conference. So, anytime you're not going to have a night off, it doesn't matter what team you're playing. So, including us.
Well, let me just say that I appreciate the work that you do, not only for athletics, but essentially in service of our country, getting those young ladies ready to go to the Air Force and be wonderful officers and people. So thank you for that. And we wish you well. I'm looking forward to watching you guys play.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
asking me the hard hitting questions, or
Nah, you softballs, then you can go. Welcome back to the Mountain West Media Day. I'm Helen Williams with Calvin Wetzel, and we are here with Coach Cindy LaRock from UNLV. Coach, welcome. Appreciate having you here.
Thanks.
It's been a long day, I'm sure, but have you had fun?
yeah, no, this is great. It's not too bad, you know. Everyone's mad at me because I'm the one that doesn't have to travel, so you know I'm happy to go last at everything, so that's no problem.
How's practice been looking so far?
It's been really good, really competitive. I'm really excited about our group and the energy that we have. So we've got a lot of work to do, but you know that's expected because we've got places that we want to go.
What are you looking for the most improvement in terms of area for your team this year from last year?
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, it's hard to compare this team to last year just with so many new faces, you know, so I don't know if you know, that even does either group justice or fair, to be honest. But what I'm looking for this group is just to continue the identity that we've had in our program with just kind of our offensive pace of scoring, of rebounding, and executing.
Well, your teams are always among the leaders in the country when it comes to not turning the ball over, not fouling, things like that. How important is kind of not beating yourselves and staying disciplined on either end of the ball to your philosophy?
Yeah, I think, you know, discipline and that execution piece is really a huge piece of how we play. And those things show up in a couple of the stats that you mentioned, whether it's the turnovers or trying to be disciplined and not fouling. So those aren't necessarily things that we preach. I think they're just byproducts of the things we do preach, which is just kind of our strategy, our game plan, and being disciplined.
What's your secret sauce? Because it's 100 wins in 4 seasons, Coach of the Year 3 times, you know, regular season title. What's the secret sauce?
Oh, the people, right? You know, I might kind of get the credit and have some of those accolades, but I really credit my staff. We've had great staff consistency, and just the culture that we have as a group, I think, is what our team and our players kind of imitate, that culture. And then great players, you know, I haven't scored a single point. So, you know, and that's not changing anytime soon. So we've worked really, really hard. You know, if anything, that is the secret sauce, hard work. We pride ourselves on that preparation and that work in recruiting and preparing for our games and practices and scouting. So, you know, if there's a secret sauce, that's it.
Someone who also hasn't scored a single point in UNLV uniform, but who has scored a lot of points, Destinee Leo.
Yeah.
Her, and she's coming up on 2,000 points in her career.
Yeah.
At Cleveland State. What is she going to add to this team?
Yeah, I mean, the stats from her time at Cleveland State are really remarkable, honestly. And we're excited to add that to our group. A tremendous three-point shooter, you know, just 105 threes, I think, last year at over 45%. I mean, that is incredible. It's truly incredible. So she has a skill set that is elite, that goes seamlessly into how we play, honestly. And so we're excited to use her skill set and just have her be a part of our program and win a championship together.
So you talked about having 2 different teams transfers. How do you build culture now that pretty much every year you have to, it's not even called reloading, it's just restructuring the teams that you have?
Well, I think that's, you know, the new norm, right? Yeah. You know, and so I think it presents some good challenges to every year just kind of reassess what you're doing, how you're teaching it, be able to strip things down to the very, you know, detail of how you want it taught and known. So I've enjoyed that challenge. You know, it does require us to slow down a little bit. But, you know, from a culture and just a chemistry standpoint, those are things that you have to really work on, you know, because with a lot of new faces and people and personalities, you know, they came here for a reason, to win, but they don't know exactly what that takes yet. So they have to learn that from the returners that we do have. And then we just have to spend a lot of time with each other, you know, not necessarily on the court either, you know, and I think that's where we try to make up a lot of our time. We do a lot of fun things and spend, you know, we share a lot of meals together and try to be really intentional with our time.
Well, it wasn't that long ago you an undefeated season in conference, a one-loss season, obviously still in a league program, but now some of these other teams are also getting better, and this league is as good as it's ever been.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of coaching in such a competitive league that's only getting tougher?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've said it. Just like every team is getting better and better, and I think our conference is great. You know, in the non-conference play, I cheer for every single one of our conference teams because, you know, we all need big wins, and the more big wins that we have, the better it continues to lift up our conference, our league, build our reputation as not just a one bid league, but then puts everyone in a position to get an at-large bid. You know, and ultimately, you know, that's what we want. I think that's what the league wants. You know, so there's no bigger fan of the league than me outside of conference play. Now, once we start playing each other, then, you know, that changes a little bit. But, you know, we need that so that when we get to conference play and we start beating up on each other, it looks better. It looks better. You know, I don't think I don't expect there to be anyone undefeated in league play this year. I just think the teams are too good. There's too many good players across the board. And, you know, and we have a lot of new players in the league. So I still have to learn about the rest of our conference teams, but I expect everyone to be, you know, honestly better than they even were last year.
So you played point guard in college. Do you have a different relationship with your point guards than you do with the other players, just given the nature of the position?
Yeah, you know, I think so. I mean, obviously, as a guard, I kind of, you know, that's I think the spearhead of my knowledge, and then, you know, being the head coach, the point guard plays a vital role in just the success of the team and being the coach on the floor. You know, so I do think it requires a different connection and level of investment and relationship from both sides. You know, we've been blessed to really have some of the best point guards in the league. You know, Kiera Jackson, last 2 years led the country in assist turnover ratio. Before here it was Essence Booker. You know, and this year now we've got Tegan Colvin as a sophomore. Got a lot of great learning experience from Kiera last year. Now the reins are in her hands, so her and I are spending a lot of time together. And I think it's only for you know, the better. So I do, you know, the point guard is a very special role, I think, within the team, and you have to have a good point guard play if you want to go places.
I've been looking at the wonderful materials that they sent us here, and this list of summer team activities: paint party, axe throwing, Las Vegas Aces game. Hopefully after they flip that switch this year.
Yeah.
But what can you say about, even with such a new team, the chemistry and camaraderie that they've already built doing all these things together?
Yeah, you know, I think everything matters, you know, and that's where we really try to just be intentional with as many things off the court as on the court, you know, whether it's team building or just spending time with each other, and doing fun things that we enjoy, like going to an Aces game. We have a lot of sporting events. We've gone to, you know, our minor league baseball team, and they won a championship, you know, so we went to the indoor football league and they won the championship. So it was a fun sports kind of summer for us here in Vegas, and our team spent a lot of time and shared those connections because, you know, chemistry isn't just on the court. You know, you have to build that trust as much off the court. So then, and on the court, but, you know, I think you have to be really intentional, and that's what we've tried to do.
For each of your teams, obviously you have a different team every year. How do you figure out what's going to define success? Even though wins and losses obviously are part of it.
Yeah, you know, I think that's the journey, right? And really, I'd love to tell you right now, but I don't know. You know, and we've got to play some games. You know, I know our group pretty well, but we haven't faced much adversity yet. We haven't really played anyone else. The only adversity that we've faced is like the hard drills that I make them do in practice and see how they respond. So, you know, and that's what the non-conference is for. Our non-conference is tougher than it's ever been, by design, you know, to put our team in really adverse situations against really great opponents at home, on the road, frankly, to see what we're made of and to see what we have to do to be successful, and then to continue to preach that and make those things our strengths, and then obviously work on everything else that you have to do to win the game too.
And so finally, you played at Stanford, Coach Tinkler played at Stanford.
Yeah.
Who's the better player?
Well, we're different positions, and she's a year younger than me, but she was a heck of a player. She was a McDonald's All-American. I call her the Queen of Montana, probably right behind her mother. And we're just so blessed and fortunate to have her on our staff. I was thrilled for my assistant, Carly Burrs, to get the Portland State head job. As a coach, that's what you want for your assistants, to grow and be head coaches. And so then to have the opportunity to get back aligned with Jocelyn, honestly, is the best thing for me and for our program. Her energy, her knowledge. Obviously, I've trusted her since I was a kid, so that has stayed true. But she was a heck of a player, so I'm actually going to give that to her. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you weren't going to answer the question.
No. No, I mean, I was no chump.
You were no slouch.
But Jocelyn was a better player than I was.
Well, Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Looking forward to watching you guys play this year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys. Yeah. Thanks. That was easy.
Thank you.
See, I told you. No,
Okay,
no,
perfect.
You're good.
All
You're
good.
good.
Awesome.
All right. Coach with Calvin Wetzel, and we're here with Utah State coach Leslie Brooks. How are you?
I'm well, Helen. How are you?
Good. So I'm just going to get right into it. On Twitter,
Absolutely.
there was a little bit of a tiff.
Absolutely.
You were named. They said you finished 11th, and you clapped back a little bit. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about that.
So we do these preseason polls, why? For engagement, right? For engagement, for entertainment. So I'm going to engage and entertain. And so I came here today, and we can cut this like a wrestling promo. That's what they want. This is entertainment. We won't finish 11th. We won't finish in 11th place. So I need to get that out there. And I don't know. So to me, one of those things is, did we do our research? Do we understand rosters? Do we understand players? So I did find this out. There have been 2 McDonald's All-Americans in the Mountain West before. So Aaliyah Gales is the 3rd McDonald's All-American in the history of the conference. Now, if a McDonald's All-American went anywhere else, would they pick the team with the McDonald's All-American in 11th place? I think not. So whoever does the voting, whoever it is, need to check their facts and do some research. Now, to that, we have a good team. We have a team that has a high ceiling. We're going to compete. We have Marina Asensio, who was a gold medal winner with Spain 3-on-3, have a chance to be on their 3-on-3 team in the 2028 Olympic Games. Pretty good backcourt. Now, I have a text from another friend who said, "Are y'all playing in the Big Ten this year?" I said, "No, Mountain West." He said, "You're going to be fine." So, hey, so that's kind of where we are. And, yeah, I'm going to clap back a little bit. We it's what it is.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Aaliyah Gales because I was going to ask about her top 10 recruit. Obviously, has been through a lot, coming from USC, but fresh start at Utah State. Like, what can we expect from her this season?
I think you can expect what you saw out of her coming out of high school. So what we have to understand is I was at Michigan, I was at Ohio State. So what you have to understand, when you go to a place like USC, there's nothing but McDonald's All-Americans coming in. USC, the last 3 years, have had the #1 recruiting class. They have 3 #1 picks in a row, right? So when you have that, right, and you have her situation, you just get behind, right? And it's so hard to come back, But she competed in every practice. Last year, Aaliyah Gales guarded Juju every practice. She guarded Juju every practice. So she's playing at a high level already. It's just, can I get minutes on the floor because I'm behind 7, 8 All-Americans? That's not the case at Utah State. She's the first in the history of the program. So she's going to be at an elite level. She's going to perform at an elite level. Staying healthy like anybody is going to be very important, like any of our players. But, I mean, the sky's the limit for her, and it's a place to come and rebuild her career, help rebuild the program, and rebrand herself as the top athlete and future WNBA pick that she wants to be.
Well, you've educated people. The press conference is over. We're done. I'm ready to play for you. So I love your high energy. What did you learn about yourself from the first year as a head coach to this year that you where you've grown?
Couple things. First of all, I thought I knew what I needed, staff, player-wise. So you go back and you reevaluate, okay, what fits for you staff-wise, what fits for you player-wise. Obviously, our system has not changed that much. We'll still press. We'll still run and gun. That's just true to myself, true to my nature. But then also learning how the university works, how things work within the university. Also getting a feel for the landscape of a conference. Obviously, coming from the Big Ten, it was really, really, it's high level, but it's different. And there's different conferences have different styles. Different conferences play different ways. Certain things happen in different conferences. So learning the conference, learning the league, learning what it takes. And then obviously you're humble when you're 4-27. And I think we, to be honest, I thought we maximized what we could get out of our team last year. We have 3 returners, and they all have had the 3 who came back from last year's team have made a significant impact in leadership and culture and how we do things. And then we brought in 11 new kids. So we have a brand new team. So we have 14 on our team right now. We have 2 kids that are redshirt, and we're just moving right along. But a lot of growth, a lot of learning. Obviously, when you're a first-time head coach, it's like you're drinking out of a fire hydrant. It's a lot being thrown at you. But we learned and you grow, and now we're in year 2, and we want to continue to take steps and make strides.
Well, you talk about that system, and last year here I asked you what you're going to bring to Utah State. You said that Ohio State press, the threes, and now you've had a year under your belt. For the three returners, is there an advantage kind of being in that distinct system for a year? And then for the new players, what's the learning curve like?
Well, it's funny. So last year, the last 5 games of the Mountain West, we finished averaging 76 points per game. So the last 5 games, we averaged 76 points per game, which would have been first in the Mountain West. But over that last 5 games, we were first. According to your guys, we were 20th in the nation in pace of play. So we achieved what we wanted to do. Also, we were 7th in the nation in 3-point attempts. And so we believe in volume of threes, which is something that we've taken from NBA. It's volume. I think last night or 2 nights ago, Oklahoma shot 52. And so we want to shoot that many if we can. And because the volume is where it's at. So we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to play that style of play. We will have different wrinkles with the press. I think the biggest thing for us, though, was getting better in the half court. So Coach Anya, who came over from Wheeling, she was the head coach at D2 school. She's come over, and she's really, really taken our defense to another level, which I think now we won't be 362 defensively. We will be, it was 366, we were 362. So you can get better. So what we're doing, we'll go from 362 to maybe 180 or get to the middle of the pack. And with what we were already doing offensively, we were like 180 in the country offensively. So now you get that and that, you're going to be better. It's better than an 11th place finish. So the math tells us that we will be a much better team. Also, the talent tells you we'll be a much better team because of the accomplishments of the talent that we brought in.
So you have international players. Is that on purpose because it lends itself to the system you're talking about?
It's a combination of two. Relationships internationally that we have. But also they understand the system. But also when you're trying to build a program, you talk about attractiveness, right? So Utah State has not been very good over the last, let's say, 6 to 7 years. It's kind of a turnoff for American kids. They'll choose somebody else before you, where the international kids just want an opportunity. So we're able to get the talent that we need to elevate. Us recruiting internationally allows us to cast a broader net. And so we've gotten some kids internationally that maybe we're not supposed to have because they don't have the stigma that some of the American kids may have in recruiting. And so that's a perception is a big thing in recruiting. And so now that we've been able to get a high level talent with our international kids, now we can go and win some games and change some of that perspective, and then maybe get some more American kids. But also to your point, Helen, they understand the style of play because that's kind of how we kind of have that international feel. Yes.
Well, we talked about Aaliyah Gales, but in terms of some of the other newcomers, what are they going to contribute to the team this year, and what can people kind of expect them to bring?
Well, you got our backcourt, Marina Asensio, won a gold medal this summer with the 3-on-3 U21 Spain national team. Excellent passing guard. Started at South Florida with Jose. Shout out to Jose with the Dallas Wings, right? So started with him, played 2 years there, then transferred to Western Michigan. Now she's with us. So a plethora of experience. Both of those two, Aaliyah and her, have NCAA tournament experience. Then we have Karen Sanford, who came over from Tarleton State, really, really high-level three-point shooter, big guard who can really, really help us. We have a kid from a junior college, Macy Brown, who's a local kid who's going to be really, really big for us. And so we have pieces. We really, really like it. I think if our freshman class, we have 3 freshmen. And if it was an American freshman class, it would be a top 25 class in the country. But it was international, so people don't know them. But they're really, really high level, and they're really, really good. So we have 4 kids from Spain. We have a pipeline in Spain. We have my assistant, Coach Kim, did a lot of skill development, and he's from Barcelona, Spain. So we have a pipeline in Spain. And so we're really, really excited about our internationals. We're really excited about our pipeline. We're really, really excited about what we're building. We have a lot of momentum in our program. So we just got to keep that going. And when you have good people and you have good talent, good things happen. And we're putting in all the work. We have high character kids. We're getting it done in the classroom also. But I think right now we don't have anybody with a below a B level average. And so they come in, they go to class, they come in, get extra workouts, they pay attention in practice. So what you do in the dark always comes to the light. So they keep doing all the good things. We're going to win games. This is a byproduct of it. And so that's why I'm so confident in where this group's going. And like I said, this group has a high ceiling. So we'll see how that plays out.
How do you transfer that confidence? Because you come from, you've worked at some major programs, obviously very successful. And I can see that you're bringing that attitude to this program. How do you transfer that confidence?
So we have basically 6 habits that we talk about. Like we talk about them constantly. The first is belief. Like you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you're doing. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in what you're doing, then why are you doing it? So belief. But once you have belief in yourself, and make sure all of our kids believe in their skill set, believe that they're at Utah State and I chose them for a reason. Once we have belief, then what about our relentless effort and action? Are we every day practicing as hard as we can? Every workout, are we going as hard as we can? Because with belief and relentless effort and action, then we have to have discipline and consistency with relentless effort and action and that belief. And then we talk about oneness. Oneness means coming together as a unit, coming together and being aligned as one. With that relentless discipline, consistency, belief, effort, and being one, everybody on the same page. I have my sisters back. I get beat, I'm there to take a charge. Or I go the right way on a play and we don't mess up the play, right? That's alignment, that's being one. And if we believe if we have all those things right, oneness, consistency, discipline, relentless effort, belief, we will be competitively great when we need to be competitively great. And competitive greatness is being at your best when your best is required. So we do all the things right before game day. On game day, we will be where we need to be, competitively great. Come championship, come tournament time, we will be where we need to be, competitively great. Being at your best when your best is required. So that's what we do. We instill that, we teach it, we talk about it every day. We verbalize it, and then we try and do productive actions that allow us to carry those things out.
And you will not finish in 11th place.
Not going to finish in 11th place. I mean, are we like to my friend's point? No, and like, are we like with our roster and our work ethic? No. When you do what you're supposed to do, good things happen. When you have talented people who do what they're supposed to do, good things happen. If we finish in the 11th place, the Mountain West is a hell of a league this year. That's all I'm saying. If we finish in 11th place, the Mountain West is probably going to get 4 or 5 teams in the tournament. That's what I'm going to say. There you go.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time. I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch your team play.
Run brick wall right now.
Ready to run through a brick wall. Well, that's it for the Mountain West Media Day. We thank you guys for watching us, and make sure you check out the schedules. It's going to be a heck of a year. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right.
Yep.